Welcome to another edition of the Roll Call podcast. I am Joe Aguirre along with Dominic Sapone. Man, the Yankees. The last time we did the show, they were getting ready for the Houston series, and you and I both were like, "This is bad, and this could be a massacre." And then, of course, they go and beat up the Astros. And then after yesterday, sweep of the Boston Red Sox, the Yankees are back over 500. So, we keep hearing about they haven't had a losing record since 1991. You hear it over and over again. The Yankees are actually now tied for fourth place with those Red Sox with another game today. That game tonight, 7-10. So a chance to move 2 games over 500 for the first time since the beginning of July. In the meantime, horrible news for this team. Obviously, the phenom, the Martian, Jasson Dominguez, UCL tear in his elbow. He's got to get Tommy John surgery. I will say this, though, Dom. I don't know if you watched the 49ers game.
Yeah, I'm a Steelers fan.
Sunday, you're a Steelers fan. Okay, well, I had the Lions, the Jets, the Steelers, and the Dolphins in a parlay. And so,
I'm sorry.
Brock Purdy, coming off the same injury, looked pretty good slinging that ball, and it's been not even a year.
He got hurt right before the playoffs started, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So a pretty miraculous recovery by Brock Purdy. And so my brother's a 49ers fan, and he's also a Yankee fan. We were talking about this Sunday afternoon. And he was like, Dominguez should find whoever Purdy had working on him. That's who should be doing this because, boy, Dom, I've been saying this all year. I mean, all year. Right? Yankees got rid of Hicks at the end of May, and I was like, whoa, bring up Dominguez. Not ready. It's not ready. People are like, you're going to set him. Ridiculous. Dom, you can either hit major league pitching or you can't. That's it. It's pretty cut and dry to me. You can either hit major league pitching or you can't. When the Nationals brought up Juan Soto at 19 years old, kid hitting the minors. A lot of people hitting the minors. I felt like Dominguez and all the hype this kid's been getting since the age of 16. Braves, bring him up. Bring him up. If he's overwhelmed, send him down and work him back up. That's not so hard. He looked great in spring training.
Yep.
He comes out, sets records in Yankee history for homers.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, it's like, well, we're trotting out a terrible baseball team, regardless, every day. It's like, would you rather play Billy McKinney, a quadruple A player, or Jasson Dominguez, a guy that has a chance to be a superstar? I mean,
Dom, again, like the worst case scenario, he's not ready. You send him back down. You got Jake Bauers level production out of him. He got a little major league experience. Oh, the clock's ticking. Oh, we're so concerned about the clock ticking. Give me a break. Start developing the talent before we get worried about the clock. Like, what a nonsensical thing. If you've got something, get it up on the major league team. Austin Wells, the defense, I don't know, doesn't handle pitches. Everyone loves him. He's doing great.
Great clubhouse guy, everything, yeah. I mean,
if you listen, Hal Steinbrenner wants to take a look at everything when the season is over. And I think one of the things the Yankees truly need to look at is their inability to find guys in the minor leagues who will have success at the major league level and then get to the majors and sustain that success. For anybody who's like Gleyber Torres still stinks. To me, he's still a below average baseball player. And if it wasn't for the fact that he's got 23 homers, if he had 12 home runs right now, you wouldn't feel the same way that you do.
No, and I mean, I I will say I do actually. I think Glaber is one of our better players. It's kind of hard to tell by the stats. This year he's been having an okay year. Off the top of my head, I don't know what like the OPS plus and all the WAR and all that stuff is, but he's been one of the better second basemen in baseball for sure. I think he should have been an All Star. Um, but like that's one guy. Aaron Judge was out for 2 months. DJ LeMahieu's been good since the All Star break, but like there's no other production on the team. So I mean, if Glaber's one of your best hitters, you're probably not a good team.
Yeah, I'll give you those numbers. 25 homers, a 271 batting average, 82 runs scored, 65 RBI in 536 at-bats. His WAR is 2.6. On base percentage is solid 341. His OPS plus is 117. So
17%
he's
better
having
than the
a
league average.
yeah, you know what? And I'll be honest, he's having a slightly better year than he generally has. His OPS plus for his career is 114. Of course, that includes the last 2 seasons where he was awful.
Yeah.
My other problem with Gleyber Torres goes though beyond because again he's hitting better, and it seems like last year when he got glasses, started wearing them, the contacts at least, he can see the ball. That seems to be helping. The
Yeah.
problem is his defense is atrocious. He's a lousy second baseman.
It's really it's the mental mistakes. It really is. I mean, defensively, yeah, you could be a lot better, but you could also be a lot worse. And the thing that's holding him back is all the mental mistakes. I mean, he'll have a game where he's getting 2, 3 hits, hits a home run, having a good game defensively, and then he just fields a normal ground ball and throws it over the second baseman's head, something like that. And it's just like, or he gets thrown out running the bases. It's just stupid things like that that are setting him back. I don't know.
I thought Glaber was going to be a superstar, 38 home run second baseman. You could make, you could overlook shoddy defense. It's not enough. To me, he doesn't hit enough for how terrible of a defensive player he is, ultimately. One bit of bright news. This fella, Estevan Florial, hit leadoff last night in the second game of the doubleheader. Had a go-ahead single to knock in a run. Walked, didn't have a strikeout, which I know everyone's so freaking concerned about. Estevan Florial's high strikeout rate, as if everybody in this goddamn organization doesn't have a high strikeout rate. Like, are you kidding me? Again, I think this is a kid, if you play this dude every day through the end of the month, I think you're going to have a guy who could be your left fielder next season.
Yeah, I mean, left-hand hitter, athletic. He has power in that bat. He's a good defender. I mean, he's just got to get everyday play. I mean, every time
Yeah.
he's gotten called up, he's played 2 or 3 times, got sent right back down. It's like, how are you supposed to get in a rhythm when you're hitting like that? Baseball is about consistency, and that's the exact opposite of what they were doing with him. And it sucks that Dominguez out for the year is the reason they called him up. But now he gets his shot. Hopefully, they play him every day. But I guess we'll see. I don't know really what goes into that process. I mean, I don't know what you got to lose.
Again, if you're going to run Jake Bauers out there and you've got this kid who, I mean, do you see the numbers he had at Scranton this year? Raking.
Oh
He
yeah,
was like an
over a
MVP.
900 OPS. Yeah, he was doing great. Absolutely.
But and again for the people who are like, he doesn't hit when he comes up. He gets 5 at bats over like 6 games, and then he gets sent back down. What are you looking for him to do?
Yeah, it's tough.
You
You can't find anything with that. I mean, that's too small of a sample size.
yes. So again, I think it behooves the Yankees here to run this guy out. And listen, if he's at a $174 when the season's over, just put him on waivers. And you made another mistake. Another prospect, a 5-tool prospect that you didn't develop.
Yeah, one of many. I
Yeah,
mean,
another
I could.
stain on the
I mean, there's
organization.
there's a long list of players that they just devalue so fast. Debbie Garcia. I mean, they're kind of doing it with Peraza right now. He's starting to hit a little bit, but I mean, calling him up last year, he sits in AAA pretty much all year this year. call him up again. He's not doing too well, and then you send him back down. It's just like nobody's playing consistently, and you're ruining these players' value. You're waiting to not trade anybody, and then they just don't turn anything. You lose all their value. I don't.
Let me tell you about something. Let me tell you about back in the day when George Steinbrenner and everybody always, oh God, wish Hal was like George. No, you don't. There was a thing called the Columbus, New York shuttle. Have you heard of this?
No.
This is where the Yankees messed with a lot of young players in the 80s and into the early 90s, where it was a short leash on the minor leaguers. They were constantly playing out their options going down to the minor leagues. The Yankees did that a lot. And there were a lot of guys that just never got a shot because they were constantly going up and down, eventually would get traded. You know, obviously we've talked about the Jay Buners of the world that the Yankees let go. Jose Rio, Doug Drabeck. The list is a mile long. Ray Fontenot. There was a million guys in the 80s that the Yankees just didn't develop right. And again, it was this constant, you know, you're up for a week and then you're down for 2 months. I don't understand that. The fascination with, right? I mean, at the All-Star break, let's go get Cody Bellinger. And I was like, just bring Dominguez up. Just bring up Dominguez. What
Don't
makes
give up
more
any
sense?
prospects. Yeah.
Expending resources or bringing up your guy? Like I said, the worst case scenario was he was not going to hit. He gets a taste of the bigs. He goes down. He knows what it's like. He knows what he's going to work on. That's a positive thing. But again, Brian Cashman's mind is, well, then the clock starts running. Yeah, well, you know what? You're going to have to develop him quickly then, since the clock's already started running.
Yeah, and I mean, even if he was healthy, say, in this hypothetical world, and he wasn't doing good, and they kept him up, and he ended the season with, below 200 average and all that stuff, just the experience. I mean, you go back to, what was it, 95 when they call up Jeter and Mo and they just sit them in the playoffs. So like, here, take it all in so you're ready for next year. I mean, we probably won't be in the
You're right.
playoffs, but that experience is great.
Your first taste of the big leagues is watching Don Mattingly and Paul O'Neill take the Yankees back to the playoffs for the first time in 14 years. And this is the precedent we're setting for you kids. I mean, Brian Cashman was there. Yeah. He wasn't in his current position, but he was there when all that went down. Doesn't he remember how that went and what that means?
Apparently not.
I mean, what a shame. But again, the Yankees being in the spot that they're in right now, it's nice to see these young guys playing some baseball, and they're playing really well. Yeah. You know, now listen, there is obviously Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, and everybody loves him. He's great, and obviously losing Judge killed. I also can't help just for a minute but think, what if Dominguez had just stayed on the roster from spring training where he hit 316? What if they would have just started the year with him? Would they be 73 and 72 right now? Would we be talking about the rookie of the year, perhaps?
Possibly. From what we saw.
This kid was on pace for about 60 homers. The rate he was hitting them at.
4 in 7 games. Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, maybe he's on pace for like 80 home runs. That's a ridiculous pace to be at. I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have hit, but we'll never know, and that's a real shame. This guy, by the way, I want to talk a little bit about this guy because I think it's important. Giancarlo Stanton did hit his 400th home run, and he got the ball back, and he just signed a couple of baseballs for it. It was a fan who has positive feelings for Giancarlo Stanton, who's back to hitting, I think, a $193 as of this morning. Again, if this guy hadn't hit 23 home runs this year, boy, you know, the difference between him and Josh Donaldson is about 12 home runs, right? That's pretty much the difference. This guy's got to get it together. In before the show, you and I started to have a conversation, and I was like, we should just have this in front of people because it would be better. You said, I hope he sticks around and gets to 500. And it's a possibility. I mean, he's under contract with the Yankees till 2027. So you've got 4 more years of Giancarlo Stanton. He just needs to get about 25 a year. He gets to 500, and then it puts us in an awkward spot.
Mm-hmm.
Is Giancarlo Stanton with 500 home runs a Hall of Famer? That used to be a number that meant something, and it only stopped meaning something when Palmeiro and Sosa and McGuire all passed it.
Yeah.
Because before then, 500 and you were in. Fred McGriff got to 493 and they kept him out for 30 years.
Yeah, that's one of the more questionable things in the last few years. Yeah. But for Giancarlo, I mean, listen, 500 home runs would be incredible. It's still a very, very impressive feat. So, I mean, if he could get there, it's definitely a question. I think he needs to win a championship. I think he needs to stay healthy for the next 4 years, if that's possible. I think going into the offseason, he needs to talk to Aaron Judge's trainer because they're both big guys. And listen, Giancarlo's, absolutely ripped. Like he's one of the best athletes, looking wise, at least in the sport. He's a specimen. But he keeps getting all these like hamstring injuries and all this stuff. It's like, dude, what are you working out for? You're like a statue out there. I mean, you got to switch it up at some point. It's the same things over and over again. You're pulling hamstrings and straining other parts of your body. It's just like, dude, you got to go into the offseason and figure this out because your clock is running out. He's what, 33 or 34 now? I mean, I don't know.
It feels like he's 46, doesn't it? It feels like he's been around for 30 years and it's funny because, again, to the Hall of Fame thought, again, assuming he gets to 500 and I got to say, if he has one healthy season and hits 40, 500's a given.
Yeah.
He's very productive when he is fully healthy. And as you just alluded to, the problem is the health has always been an issue. At least it's been an issue in his Yankees tenure. You said before the show, and this is kind of an interesting thought, that maybe his peak was too short. Because that's one of the things we look for in Hall of Famers. Kirby Puckett, Sandy Koufax, guys whose career ended because of injuries or otherwise. That's one of the things we look for, although I guess not with Thurman Munson. But with everybody else, a short career, not Don Mattingly either. So I guess just if you're a Yankee, it's a problem. So was his peak too short?
It's tough to tell because of the injuries. It's tough to tell. I do think it was too short. I really thought he was going to come over after that MVP season in 2017 and just light it up with Judge. I really did. And that first year, 38 home runs, 100 RBIs, 2018, it was looking pretty good. And then he just fell off a cliff with the injuries. I mean, 2018, he was playing a good amount. And then 2019, it started. He just barely played. I think 2019 and 2020 or 2021, two of those 3 years, he played like a handful of games. And that just really screwed his numbers over.
I would say from 2011, his second full season, 34 homers, 87 ribby, a 262 average, straight through 2017 with the 59 homers, the MVP season there for the Marlins at 281. The following year, 38 and 100, his first year with the Yankees, played 18 games in 19, 23 in 2020. 139 games in 21. He hits 35 homers, 97 RBI, and hit 273. 2022, 31 dingers, 78 RBI, a 211 average. This year, as I mentioned, 23 homers, 57 RBI, and a batting average of 198. So from 11 to 19, an 8-year stretch.
Pretty solid career in that 8-year stretch.
I think about Miguel Cabrera, who's now, 503,000 and I mean, literally limped, much like Albert Pujols to the finish line. And there's a tendency too sometimes to, you don't want to remember what maybe the last few months of his career, Pujols, but the last couple seasons were god awful. It was tough to watch a legend like that struggle. And Cabrera, the last few years has been tough to watch. He's had some stretches where he's looked, you're like, oh no. The last 4 years here for Stanton on this contract could be tough, but
yeah, I mean, you look at the guys you said, for instance, Pujols and Cabrera. I mean, when they came up, they were some of the best hitters ever. I mean, when they first came up, Pujols especially, I mean, he was getting compared to some of the best ever. His numbers were incredible, and Miguel Cabrera winning the Triple Crown, MVPs. I mean, those guys were monsters their entire careers until their bodies broke down when they got old. Giancarlo has had a very good career. He had that one incredible MVP season. I don't think his career has been close to theirs, though.
No, listen, I agree. This guy's a slugger. This guy's a slugger and falls in. I think, do you know who Dave Kingman is? Dave Kingman had 474 home runs in his career. Played for the Mets. He played for the Giants. He played for the Yankees for a really brief period of time. Towards the end of his career, he was a DH for the Oakland A's, those teams that went to the playoffs. But he was one of those guys who, back in the day was like a 40 home run guy, and he hit like 210. Baseball's always had guys like this, mashers. Stanton's had some, 270, 280s kind of seasons. I mean, he's not a terrible hitter. You said something interesting, too, pre-show, that I was hoping you would bring up again. When he's cold, he's one of the worst-looking hitters in the league, especially on anything that has break to it. You would think that it was his first time holding it. He looks like a caveman swinging a club.
Yep.
When Giancarlo Stanton is hot, you're talking about a guy that'll hit 550 for a week, and be the most feared hitter in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting the ball 115 miles an hour off the bat, and he's hitting it 450 feet. And I mean, it's really mind-boggling to me how big of a difference he could look from one game to the next. And I mean, it's a game of streaks. I understand that you got to be consistent. The injuries screw him over. I think when he plays the field, honestly, I think he hits a lot better when he's out in the field. He's not thinking about just hitting all the time. When he's DHing, that's the only thing on his mind. If he goes and strikes out, he's sitting in the dugout for 2-3 innings until his next at bat, just thinking about that strikeout. And he goes up and does it again. When he's out in the field, I mean, he's got to worry about playing defense, not really worrying about if he stunk up his last at bat. So, I mean, it's hard to play him out there because he gets hurt all the time. Plus, you have Judge. You don't really want to stick him in left field because Yankee Stadium in left field is very hard to play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tough. You got to find time to put him in the outfield, kind of keep him on his toes. But man, when he's hot, he is one of the best hitters in baseball. But
so
it's too inconsistent.
Does that factor in when you look at the sum of, again, let's say he plays to 2030, and in 2035 you're looking at his Hall of Fame candidacy. Let's say he's cleared the 500, so he had to have been somewhat decent on the way out of Yankeesville if he's going to get. He's 499 99 home runs away. He's got 401 as of right now, and I do think it's very doable. But I wonder, does the idea that he was one of the most feared hitters, that he's the Steph Curry of MLB in terms of launch angles and in exit velo. He's the godfather of these things. Big G, his legacy, I think, includes that, and that's how kids hit nowadays. They teach launch angle and the exit velo. He's the guy.
Yeah,
Does he
I
get
mean,
credit for that? And does that, again, if he gets to 500, do you consider that? Do you consider that this guy could carry a team on his back when he's hitting at his best because he's that good?
he the consistency, man. That's really all it comes down to. I mean, if he can stay healthy, if he can stay consistent, he'll be a good hitter. But I don't know. I know for a fact whenever he comes off the IL for like a month, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. I mean, but then when he's hot, I mean, you look at the past few years, you see all these exit velocity leaders, hardest hit balls, hardest hit home runs, all this stuff. Top five: Giancarlo, Judge, Giancarlo. Like it's just he hits the
Yeah.
ball hard. I mean, harder than anybody else.
It's good when it doesn't find gloves.
Yeah,
That's one of the things that kills me. I always think of, I'm a legend in the wiffle ball scene. Pee Wee Reese has a famous quote from back in the day. He was a singles hitter. His thing was hit them where they ain't. I swing like Derek Jeter. You drag the bat through the zone and hit the ball the other way where there's no fielders. Why wouldn't I just hit the ball where no one's going to catch it? I'm not a professional baseball player, yet I know how to keep my hands back to drive the ball to right field. In wiffle ball, there's two fielders. And when a righty's up like me, everybody goes to the left side of the field. Why would I hit the ball to the left side of the field?
yeah. I don't know. Some
No,
guys just
I'm
can't.
saying it just.
Some guys just can't do it. I mean, you
I
look at
I don't I don't agree with that. I don't
no.
agree with that. Listen, worst case scenario, you do the big poppy and you just drag bunt down the third baseline. And watch how honest people get. Dude, not for nothing, but again, in my wiffle ball league, I'll rifle a couple up to first baseline. And then by my third at bat, now everyone's playing on the right
Back
side of the
over.
field. And now I'm in pull mode.
Yeah.
You break. It's like it's a
Yeah.
game of chess. So these guys that are hitting the ball 118 miles right into the left fielder's glove, awesome, but you're out.
A great
And you're hitting a
example.
$193 because of that. Stop it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Josh Donaldson had an RBI single, a walk and a strikeout in his debut with the Brewers. And basically the Brewers have told him, hit or you're gone. It's as simple as that. That's what they told him. If you hit, you stay. If you don't, we tried. He said, I read this quote just this morning. He likes what he's been doing this year. He's hitting the ball hard. You have a 174 batting average guy. It's not going well. You feel good? This would mean that you're hitting into the worst luck imaginable, which is more believable if it's not also happening to Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Hicks at the same time it's happening to you.
yeah. I mean, you could hit the ball as hard as you want, but if it's right at the third baseman or right at the left fielder, it doesn't really matter.
Here's the other problem. And this is one of the things about Giancarlo Stanton I like. I mean, he hits the ball, obviously, the opposite way a lot, right? He keeps his hands back and, he can drive a ball, into the right field bleachers at Yankee Stadium very easily. And he does it a lot. I think it's part of the reason. Because, listen, Giancarlo Stanton, you're not throwing a fastball by Stanton. Stanton can still hit a fastball. It's the other pitches that really seem to get him. Josh Donaldson, I've watched this season swing through 94-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle.
I think I watched like a 5-minute highlight video of Josh Donaldson swinging at fastballs and missing right down the middle. Like literally
Fastballs,
5 minutes long. 5 minutes long of fastballs down the
fastballs,
middle and him swinging and
and
missing.
that's when, for me, I like Josh Donaldson, and he enjoyed being a Yankee, and I appreciate that. You know, um, when you can't hit a fastball down the middle at 94, 95, you shouldn't be in the major leagues anymore.
No.
That's a
No.
real problem. That guy's best bet is to guess a breaking ball and then he hits it for a homer. He did that 10 times in 105 at bats. And other than that, that was about it.
Yeah, what do you have? 15 hits and 10 of them were home runs or something like
Yeah,
that?
that's
16
exactly
now?
what it was. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. But again, listen, if you know how to swing a baseball bat, and Josh Donaldson definitely does, you can guess and get around on some balls. And Josh Donaldson proved that. Gary Sanchez, whose season just ended, by the way, for the Padres, got hit in the hand, broke his wrist. Looked pretty good this year, playing for San Diego. Again, and I've been like, you can hit a fastball. When you throw Gary Sanchez a fastball, you put yourself in a fastball situation with Gary Sanchez and he knows it's coming. You have no chance of keeping the ball in the ballpark. The
No.
thing is you just need to never put yourself in a position to throw Gary Sanchez a fastball and you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, you throw him 3 straight sliders down and away, and he's probably gonna swing at him, but, I mean, you give him that fastball up and in or something like that, he's sending it out
Yeah,
420 feet. I mean, yeah.
crazy. Just crazy to think about. Let's talk about this guy because he continues to be one of the real bright spots for this team. 13-4, 2.79 ERA, first Yankee in history with 3 200 strikeout seasons. He has 204 of those in 187 innings, a 102.7 whips in those 30 starts in his WAR. Currently sits at 6.4. You see him; he's the front runner. He's the odds-on Vegas favorite right now to win it. I think he's got a couple starts left here in the season, maybe a chance to get to 15 wins. I know wins isn't a thing, but I think it looks sexy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think 15 wins on a pretty lousy Yankee team with the low ERA and the strikeouts, I think it really shows you the kind of season Garrett Cole had. And so I do hope he gets this wrapped up, and it would be a silver lining on an otherwise forgetful season.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to, what was it, 2019 when we signed him, going into the 2020 season, I remember I was in college. I was out at a party and I got the notification that the Yankees signed Garrett Cole because it was super late at night. I think it was a weekend. I don't know. I called my buddy and I was like, "Holy shit, we got our guy. This is the guy that's going to get us to the promised land." And obviously, we haven't gotten there yet, but he's been everything that we could have hoped for. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He loves the game. He's always talking about the game. He's always trying to learn more. He's always trying to teach the game. He goes out there and he puts his heart on his sleeve, man. He really does. He does everything he can, and he's been great. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Carlos Rondon, by the way, pitched pretty well last night. Again, the last week or so, Yankees have played pretty decently. Clark Schmidt goes today against Tanner Houck, who's 4-9. Schmidt comes in 9-8, a 4.54 ERA.
So he'll probably light us up.
It's
We
hard to.
suck.
It's so
We
hard
suck
to
against
predict the
catfish.
Yankees right now. It's so hard to predict what you're going to get out of these guys day in and day out. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, by the way, Michael King gets the start, 4-5 at 2.82 ERA. I think they're gearing this guy up
Yeah, I
to
did not I did not see this coming. I knew a few years ago they tried to get this guy to turn into a starter and then they kind of just like let it go. I haven't been watching too many games recently. I'm not gonna lie. I just haven't had interest besides, the Astros series. That was one of the more fun series in a while. But I don't know, man. I I have no idea. I really don't.
It's hard. It really is. It's like mind-blowing. Friday, Yankees will be in Pittsburgh. Garrett Cole will be on the bump, which, look, the Yankees have a chance here with a weekend series coming up against Pittsburgh. And then they're home. They have the Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, Blue Jays, Royals. The Yankees, I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them win 83 games.
Very
I think
possible.
it would be nice that they could tack on 10 more wins. I'd love to see Cole get to 15 wins. I think
Yeah.
that would really strengthen his case. Or at the very least have a performance, maybe a one-hit, 12 strikeout performance somewhere in there. Just something to really show the domination. I think that would really just kind of hammer the whole thing home,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, this Dominguez thing is so crushing. Boy, I mean,
I saw the news and I was like, somebody's got to be joking, right? Like, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, there's no way. Like, it's just this kid just comes up. We finally have a lick of hope, and he tears his UCL. I mean, what
the
the hell?
season. That's
You
the
can't
whole
make it
season
up.
in a nutshell, right there.
You
The whole
can't make
season
it
in a
up.
nutshell. Aaron Hicks is in Baltimore, heading to the playoffs. Josh Donaldson's with the Brewers, heading to the playoffs. Your superstar player comes up for a week, is like the greatest player on the planet, and he's out indefinitely. It's like, oh
And
boy, could it get
the
any
thing
worse?
that's I saw reports. I don't remember where they were from. They Dominguez complained about his arm starting to hurt a little bit in that Astros series when he got called up. And they're like, "Oh, it's all right. You're fine." And then it just progressively got worse and worse. And it's like, if that was I don't know if it's fully torn or partially torn, but that's a big difference. If it's fully torn, he's going to be out for a while. If it's partially torn, he could be back in like 4 months. I mean, you look at Bryce Harper. I mean, yeah, he came back to play first base and he wasn't throwing a ton. Or even like a Shohei. Shohei's still hitting, even though he's not throwing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just our luck this year, man. I don't. It was so promising. That Astros series was so fun to watch. It was like, holy shit, we have something to watch. I have a reason to turn the game on now. And then,
It's been a
he
heck of
just
a
gets
run.
hurt.
It had to run out
I don't get
eventually.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the 3 games against the Astros. I mean, I'll take that, I guess. I mean, I hate the Astros. That was
Boy,
super fun, but like,
between a sweep there and the sweep, the first time they've swept Boston since '06 in a doubleheader at home, it's been a long time. So again, you're seeing some positives here moving forward. Back over 500, I mean, you got to get to 500 to get over 500, and they've slowly but surely have started to build that up. So hopefully it continues. We shall see. Make sure you visit clovercrestmedia.com/the Roll Call Podcast. We're also on Facebook, where we are doing this live today. It's also Twitter at the Roll Call Show, and Instagram, where one of our followers is Amber Sabathia. So get on it.
wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it
I
is.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Love
I
Susan.
congratulated her when she became an agent. She started following the page.
Yeah.
That's why you reach out to people. People like that,
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you, CC Sabathia and Brett Gardner in this clubhouse right now, they would not allow all this stuff to be going on. I'll tell you that.
Oh, you know what? We can maybe in next week's episode, maybe we could talk about the first year captaincy of Aaron Judge and how poorly that's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, it could have been better. Missing 2 months, you can't really do too much when you're on the bench. You can't really, it's kind of hard to listen to that, but yeah, it hasn't been great.
No, it hasn't. All right, well, that is going to do it for us. We'll be back next week. For Dominic Zapponi, I'm Joe McGuire. Thank you for watching the Roll Call Podcast.